What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a major lightweight rematch reportedly locked in for September. Sean Strickland going off on UFC pay again, serious warnings for Ian Garry ahead of Islam Makhachev, and a pile of other updates. Let's get into it. As the lightweight division waits for its next move, reports are saying Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira is set for UFC 331, with Ilia Topuria still without a firm return date beyond a possible December comeback, and Justin Gaethje saying he wants to sit out the rest of the year. All signs started pointing toward this rematch. Hunter Campbell met with Arman during UFC Abu Dhabi Fight Week. Now, Ring Magazine's Magomed Ankalaev reports that multiple sources confirm the fight is finalized for September 19th at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. An official UFC announcement on the full card and tickets is still coming, but the timing makes sense. The open question is whether the BMF title will be on the line. Reactions to Oliveira holding that belt have been mixed. These two last met at UFC 300, where Arman took a split decision. Separately, Arman is booked for a submission-only grappling match under Hype FC against Indian fitness influencer Ankit Bayampuria on August 1st. Sean Strickland remains one of the biggest names in the sport as middleweight champion, but don't expect him to become a company man anytime soon. In a recent interview with Sean Ryan, he delivered some of his strongest comments yet on how the UFC pays its fighters. He described fighters as so poor, pointing to common 10 and 10 contracts. After managers and taxes, a loss can leave someone with around $7,000 or $8,000, and then one injury can lock them out completely. He called the system cruel and predatory, noting that the same money is life-changing for fighters from the Brazilian favelas or Dagestan, while barely covering rent in the US. Only the very top guys, he said, are making real money. He also revealed that the UFC loves short-notice fights and typically adds a $30,000 to $50,000 bump on top of contractual pay for anyone who steps in on 5 days' notice. Not everyone is convinced Ian Garry will get run over by Islam Makhachev at UFC 330 on August 15th. But Chris Weidman and Dustin Poirier just explained why it could still be a very tough night. On Deep Waters, Weidman said Garry will be stressed and pants about the takedown threat. Islam is elite on the ground and still throws hard on the feet. Poirier, who has actually fought Islam, agreed. The constant threat of being taken down changes everything. You stop planting and firing the same heavy shots because you don't want your legs grabbed. You become more timid. Dean Thomas added that fighters with longer legs often struggle more to get back up against high-level wrestlers. At the same time, Islam has already shown he's not just a grappler. He can hurt people standing. Coach Javier Mendez warned Garry not to treat this like a pure kickboxing match. Islam is well-rounded and will take openings wherever they appear. In related welterweight news, Shavkat Rakhmonov's physician said he's unlikely to return until winter. Michael Morales recently posted footage of himself watching the Shavkat-Garry fight and zooming in on Shavkat's name. When a fan asked if he already has a fight booked, Morales simply replied, "Yes." Expect that announcement soon. Reinier de Ridder is calling for a major rule change after years of brutal weight cuts to make 185 pounds started damaging his health and performances. He's moving up and faces Roman Dolidze on August 22nd in Sacramento for his light heavyweight debut. His proposal is simple. Fighters must make weight the day before the fight and again on fight day. Miss either one and you pay a fine. He dismissed ONE Championship's higher weight classes and hydration tests as ineffective, saying fighters learned to drink demineralized water and still pass. Joe Rogan has been saying similar things for years. Whether the UFC and athletic commissions would ever actually adopt this remains the big question. Magomed Ankalaev took a lot of heat for the UFC Abu Dhabi main event, but Chris Weidman is pushing back hard. He said Ankalaev showed exactly how good he is. He paced the first couple of rounds, then realized Bogdan Guskov wasn't going to trade, pushed the pace, took him down easily, and finished by TKO. Weidman blames Guskov for the lack of excitement, not Ankalaev. He also pointed out that the wrestling we finally saw is exactly what people wanted when Ankalaev fought Alex Pereira, and it's why so many still see Ankalaev as a bad stylistic matchup for Pereira. Plenty of people were surprised when Petr Yan beat Merab Dvalishvili in their rematch last December. Now Merab has revealed he was fighting with a knee injury. On a lie detector test, he admitted he has hidden injuries so fights could go ahead. In the first Yan fight, he broke a bone in his hand. In the second, the UFC doctor told him he could pull out because of the knee, but Merab asked them to keep it quiet. That could explain why his takedowns were far less effective the second time. He had 11 in the first meeting. Others will simply say Yan is a better fighter now with a better game plan. UFC Belgrade is this Saturday and starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. Johnny Walker is officially off the card. The UFC couldn't find a replacement after Ante Delija withdrew with an injury. so Walker's heavyweight debut is scratched. Earlier, the card also lost Bogdan Gaskov, who was moved to the Ankalaev main event. That opened the door for Navajo Stirling to step up on short notice against Jan Blachowicz. Sterling said he had just come off a massive bender in Japan when the call came, but accepted because he was training every day, coming off the best camp of his life, and felt the style matched up well after watching teammate Carlos Ulberg beat Blachowicz. Looking ahead, the August 8th Apex Fight Night currently has only 9 fights booked. An AG fight reports Mateusz Gamrot versus Jai Herbert is set for October 10th. BKFC just booked a fun one. Darren Till versus Yoel Romero on September 26th in Manchester at 190 pounds. Founder David Feldman expects to sell out the AO Arena. Till won his BKFC debut against Aaron Chalmers. Romero is 1-1 in bare knuckle so far. Ilia Topuria is starting to appear in public again after his loss to Justin Gaethje. World Cup winner Ferran Torres posted a photo of them hanging out in Ibiza. Conor McGregor posted on Instagram suggesting that the dry ice and smoke machines made the cage floor wet and caused his knee to pop, calling it a no contest and saying he'll be back next year. He followed up with more posts about the work he's put in and the need for continued discipline. Finally, Jon Jones said in a new interview that his physical strength and wrestling would have been too much for Alex Pereira. Once he got him to the ground, he believes submissions would have come quickly. He added that he's a fan of Pereira, and they're not fighting. Yesterday, Magomed Ankalaev put away Bogdan Gaskov in dominating fashion, but the reaction was mixed. The Abu Dhabi crowd was booing, and many blamed Gaskov for not engaging. Gaskov stepped in on short notice, yet took almost no risks. Magomed himself was cautious early before opening up later. The stoppage itself looked odd, normal strikes, and the referee suddenly waved it off. As a former champion, Ankalaev should be next for the title. Some fans disagree after this performance, but the UFC may still book him against Carlos Ulberg. Ulberg was in attendance and told Paramount, "Congrats to Ankalaev. I saw what I needed to see, and I'll do everything that I need to do to make sure I get back in there. Nothing is sort of dominant at this moment." Ulberg is targeting an early 2027 return. Daniel Cormier agreed the 5th-round finish could have earned Ankalaev another title shot against Ulberg. But Ankalaev may not want to wait. In the post-fight presser, he pointed to Paulo Costa. "I'm already the #1 contender. If the champion will be out for some time, maybe we can have a good fight with Costa, unless he's going to be running away." Costa had called the fight boring, so this matchup would be interesting. Ankalaev also fired back at Alex Pereira. After Pereira joked about his silence, Ankalaev said at the presser and later on social media, "If Chama wants the fight, the UFC would be happy to make it." He added, "You talk a lot, but we both know you never want to fight me. If you're a real man, accept the fight. An interim title is fine with me too." Ulberg later posted on Instagram, "Ank versus Jiri. Give them both a full camp. Costa versus Roundtree. By the time the dust settles, I'll be ready. See you in 2027. Next weekend, the UFC heads to Serbia. Renato Moicano is not happy that Leo Garcia reported his fight against Brian Ortega. Moicano tweeted that he only confirms fights when the UFC announces them and asked media not to spread rumors. Garcia replied that reporting is his job. Valter Walker keeps calling out Herb Dean after his first-round calf slicer win, even posting AI videos of himself tapping the referee. New fights announced. Patricio Pitbull Freire versus Du Ho Choi at UFC 331. Dan Ige versus David Martinez on the September 12th Noka card. RAF Wrestling. Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo, rematch on August 22nd in Cleveland. Bilal Muhammad versus Colby Covington on September 19th in Miami. Expect fireworks before they even wrestle. Magomed Ankalaev made his UFC debut against undefeated Damian Japeski. No spectacular finish, but Chanko showed why many rate him highly. Nasty elbows, punches, and front kicks, while Japeski showed heart despite a bloody face. In the post-fight interview, Chanko noted the Team Topuria versus Team Nurmagomedov angle and declared his team better. He told the press conference that if locked in a room with Topuria, Topuria would have no chance because of the life they live in Makhachev. He also warned he has wrestling, not just striking. Khabib and Islam both congratulated him immediately after the fight, with Khabib noting he missed a takedown. Dylan Dennis wants revenge on John Pork, but Dana White has already made clear Dennis will never fight in the UFC. Khamzat Chimaev is still pushing for Sean Strickland. He said in Abu Dhabi he could fight him today. "We're training, waiting for Strickland to come out of his house. I'm always in the gym." Nassourdine Imavov claims the UFC has told him he gets Strickland next, while Dricus du Plessis wants a third fight. A Chimaev rematch would be the biggest fight commercially, even if some fans don't want it after the first close bout ended with some reconciliation. Chimaev is training with different coaches in LA and Dubai, focusing more on strength and conditioning, but he downplayed any major style change. Sean Strickland, Bilal Muhammad, and others went off on Gene Silva after Silva posted photos from Israel with soldiers. Strickland wrote on X, "How much money would it take for you to kiss the wall in Israel? When I see Americans kiss the wall, it makes my skin crawl. It feels very wrong." Silva replied that he was there to support his longtime sparring partner Ella, who has a Contender Series opportunity, and he refused to abandon his teammate despite the expected hate. Sean O'Malley predicts Ian Garry will upset Islam Makhachev at UFC 330. He said Garry is big, long, and confident. Khabib has already called Garry a hard matchup. O'Malley also warned that if Makhachev wins the same way he beat JDM, it could hurt the GOAT conversation. Meanwhile, Ali Abdelaziz mocked Ian Garry after his brother's public call-out and Eddie Hearn's image management role. How's that working out? What a clown show. Dana White posted, "The only real toxic masculinity is the absence of masculinity." That's it for today's news. Check the previous video on screen if you missed it. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow with more MMA updates.